a few years ago, I moved from my little village on the countryside to Vienna to study organic farming. And I rented a flat with some friends of mine, and I had an apple on the first day when I moved in. And when I finished the apple, I had the leftover of my apple. And I thought, okay, where can I put it now? And I mean, it was obvious for me that it's not going to be like at my parents' place where we have a garden and there's a compost place to put it there. But still, I was looking for this organic waste bin. So I was looking in the flat and I could not find it, yeah, because it doesn't exist. And ladies and gentlemen, this was absolutely shocking for me, because in this way I was forced to put my organic waste into a bin where I knew that it's not going to be recycled. I'm not the only one in Vienna, and there are many other people who have the same issue. And it's also happening on the whole world that it happens to you, that you have to throw away the organic waste into the normal bin. And I was so frustrated about it, and I needed a solution. So one night I went to the park and dug a hole in between the shrubs. And from this night on, every day when I went to the university with my bicycle, I had my leftovers of the organic waste with me. And I passed this park and I put it there inside. I was super happy because I found a solution. But you can imagine there are some troubles with it. So I realized two things. The first thing was that if everybody would do that, the beautiful parks in Vienna would be not so beautiful anymore and nobody wants to visit them. And second, it was also illegal. So I had to stop and find another way. And by accident and a lot of luck, I came across a solution which absolutely changed my life. These little ones, these little earthworms, are capable to eat all the organic waste and transform it into an amazing fertilizer. And all that, it can happen on a small space that it even fits in my kitchen. I went on the internet and found instructions how to build my worm box. So here's a picture with me and my first worm box. I ordered several hundred earthworms on the internet. They came by post. They're the same earthworms you can find in the garden. Yeah? So most probably everybody of you met already one of my friends. In this little box, they can coexist up to several hundred worms. And as I said, they can transform all the organic waste. But I was really thrilled by this experiment. But you can imagine that my flatmates were not so happy about these little dirty, creepy creatures. Yeah? They said, "Hi, David, how can you do this to us?" And then we had a long discussion. You know how it is. And still, we started with our project. And we were 4 people, so we started to feed our worms. Yeah? We discovered that there was no bad smell. Instead, when we opened this box, it was smelling like a forest. So how funny is that? You open a box and it smells like forest in your apartment. The second was that there was no worm escaping. Very important point for one of my flatmates. The third was that they ate all our organic waste, and we sometimes had the impression that they were still hungry. We fed them every day. And they even ate my toothbrush out of bioplastic. So, and the worm castings, what the worms produce, is an amazing fertilizer. Yeah. We took it out, we gave it to our plants, and they grew enormously. We had, after 2-3 years in this flat, we had like a jungle. It was not an apartment anymore, it was more like a jungle. So, and with this time, I realized that it was not only me who had this issue with the organic waste, and many other people had the same situation. So I founded my company in my grandfather's garage. And the first product is the worm seat. So it's like a worm box, which you can use as a seat. It has wheels, so you can move it around. And yeah, when we had friends coming over or people coming, we said, like, okay, you can sit down on the box. We did not tell them at the beginning, and after some time, when we finished coffee and tea, we said, okay, please stand up because we have to feed our worms. There were two kinds of people. The first group never came again. The second group, we had amazing talks about sustainability and waste and so on. So far, we produced several thousands of those boxes, which reduce X tons of organic waste, and we shipped them all around Europe, and we figured out that we are not the only crazy worm freaks here. So friends of mine, they are called Vermicompost, and they're in the Netherlands. They make the worm hotel. It's a hotel for worms, and families have access, and all private people have access there and can throw their organic waste inside. Once a year, they have like a harvesting party where they come all together and they separate or harvest the castings from the worms. They did it already. And so it's not only that worms are transforming organic waste into something, they also bring people together, which is also a lot of fun. So there are many initiatives all around the world. But what is the general belief of all these initiatives? And why do we think that so little earthworms can make such a big impact in future? It is the fact that organic waste is not a waste, it is a resource. But we treat it as it would be something which is just to throw away. When we put our organic waste into a normal bin, it's either dumped on a landfill, which generates a lot of greenhouse gases, or incinerated in a power plant where you need additional energy to burn it, because of course, organic waste does not burn on its own. So it's a waste of money and it has a bad impact on the environment. Additionally, you also have trucks who need to pick it up, of course. They pick it up from my home, then they go to your home, then they drive somewhere else to treat it somewhere. So it's crazy. So the question is, why is it really so useless that we have to transport it for kilometers just to burn it somewhere? It's about the perspective, how we see it. Basically, it's money what we throw into the bin, and we even need to pay a company to pick it up. We actually should ask this company to pay us for the coffee ground and for the banana peel, because it's a resource what we are giving to them. So, working with worms for so long, I discovered 3 levels of potential usage for the worms. The first level is 25% of the waste in a household is organic waste. As I told before, it needs to be picked up, transported somewhere, that it's burned or dumped somewhere. It's an absolute catastrophe. So you just put a worm box inside, or you have a worm hotel. So it should be one day, it should be as common as having a fridge in the kitchen. To have a worm box. So there's a crazy calculation, but it works out, is Paris is giving 500 worm boxes for free to the inhabitants every year, because they figured out it's cheaper for them to give the boxes for free than to pick up their waste. And the same thing in the Netherlands. My friends estimated that it costs the municipality 2 to 3 times less money to give this worm hotel for free to the families than to pick up the organic waste from them. Isn't this amazing? So, but it's not only the households. So that's the second level. It's not only the households. There are many other businesses, coffee places, restaurants, hotels, and so on. They also have a lot of organic waste. They pay a lot for it. And here's a short story. It's my friend Andreas. He's running a coffee place in the village where I live. And of course, I told him a lot about worms, and he's like, okay. And then I said, okay, let me install a worm system at your place. And if you're not happy with it after 2 months, okay, I will never tell you any more all my worm stories. So what I did, I installed one, and he had to admit that worms are like us. Because they also love coffee, especially coffee ground. So what he could do, he installed 1 or 2 of those urban worm bags, of those worm farms. They are eating 2 kilos per bag, 2 kilos of organic waste per day. He could reduce the general size of his normal bins. And the funniest thing is that all the children want to visit him because they want to see the worms and they want to feed the worms, so they drink a tea. So, but worms are not only eating only coffee ground, they also eat all kinds of industrial organic waste, for example, from the paper industry or from food processing. Okay. Next level is municipality sewage. Do you know what this is? Normally nobody wants to talk about it, but generally it's everything what we flush in the toilet and which disappears in the sink. And there's a project in Switzerland where they connected a newly built apartment block with a warm reactor in the basement. So you can see it below the wooden pieces there's this warm reactor. There are millions of earthworms eating the wastewater of this whole apartment, and it runs through another filter, and then it's basically drinking water again. And the best thing is they don't have to pay the fee for the wastewater treatment. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And the normal procedure for this sewage sludge, for this wastewater, is that maybe you know these big areas where they treat it. So they treat it first. Then they have to dry it. It's more energy. Then they have to pick it up and to bring it somewhere. It's even more energy. And finally they burn it because they don't know what to do else with this toxic mass. So what I did is I took a sample of the sewage sludge and I fed it to my worms, and have a guess what happened? They love it. Yeah. So I did also some research on this topic. I figured out that there are a lot of, hundreds of scientific papers, and they have this term Wormy stabilization. And Wormy stabilization of sewage sludge is destroying chemicals, human pathogens, hormones, and decreasing the level of heavy metals. And the best thing is that Australia and New Zealand, it's common practice to treat the wastewater in with this way. So, but the next thing is that what do we do with all these worm castings and all this magic worm poop, how I call it? We would have tons of it. Every gardener is happy about it. It's full with nutrients and beneficial microorganisms. And with so much of it, we could make soils of whole countries healthy again. And the best thing is we could cut the costs for synthetic fertilizer as we can completely replace it. So it's basically a resource for free. We just need to put some worms inside and then it starts. So, and when I think of a sustainable future, I cannot imagine that we're still driving around trucks that they bring the organic waste somewhere where it's burned or dumped. And it's generally about the efficiency, how we treat waste, and especially organic waste, because we can treat it there where it's produced. That we can close and complete those cycles as fast as possible with as little energy input as necessary. And as earthworms don't need electricity and basically work for free, that's a very good solution. So the ability of the worms to help us is incredible. Either it's in a little wooden box or it's on a large scale for the whole for the wastewater of a whole nation, of a whole city. So these little creatures make it possible for us to understand that organic waste is not a waste; it is a resource. And everybody of us should now know when there is organic waste being transported, dumped or burned somewhere, that there's a solution which is odorless, which is simple and is a lot of fun. So everybody should get now a few hundred of earthworms, install a worm system, get your hands dirty and recycle your organic waste. You will love your new pets. Thank you.